Hey guys, today I want to talk to you about something a little bit more personal in my life. About a year ago, a little less than a year ago, probably like 8 months ago, I found a lump in my breast, so I thought I would talk to you all today about finding the lump, doing the biopsy, and getting it removed. So I will have little timers down below so you can go to any of those spots if you want to just know about the biopsy, if you want to just know about getting it removed or just finding in general. I'll have those down below so you can just click on the timers and you can find where it is, because I know a lot of people come to these videos looking for more information, and so I'll try to be helpful in that. So I found the lump in my breast in around June 2015. It was when I was about to go to bed. I was just feeling around right here and I found a lump, and there wasn't much I could do at the time. I couldn't call the doctor since it was so late, so I just decided to go to bed. I woke up the next morning, and since I was at home and not at college, I told my mom and I gave a call to my primary doctor. They said at the time they wanted to know when my cycle was, and I was just about to start my period, and they said that lumps were pretty normal during periods, so they wanted to hear back from me in 2 weeks if it wasn't gone. My issue with that is that my breasts have never been lumpy, and this felt more like a small grape in my breast, and that was just not normal for me, and I knew it wasn't normal for me. So I kind of pushed it, and they were like, well, just wait for your period to stop and call back if still there. So I waited. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, it was still there. So then they wanted me to come in to just see a nurse so that they could give it a feel and see what it might be. So I went in, and I must say one of the things I was kind of disappointed about is I had switched doctors, and I used to be at a pediatrician, and they would check my breast every single time I came in annually. And the first time I saw this other doctor in about January, so this is maybe 5 months or so before this, they didn't feel my breasts at all to check and just see if things were normal, which was very weird to me, and I'm not sure why they didn't. And so when I went into the nurse, and probably, I think it was still around June, I told her, I was like, well, they never even felt my breast before, not saying that the lump would have been there, but she said that they usually don't feel breasts if it makes the woman uncomfortable, which to me is a very odd thing to say, considering it's part of a checkup to make sure that you're healthy. And I just thought that was weird, and I kind of was upset about that. Not that they would have found a lump in my breast in January, but, you know, it's important to go over that kind of stuff to make sure you're healthy. So that was kind of shocking to me, and I wasn't really comfortable with that. But I digress. So they checked the lump, and they thought it was just maybe a cyst. So they referred me to the hospital, to the breast care center. And I'm not sure when I went in. I think it was the same month, because there was a 6-month gap between my first checkup and the next one. So I go in for an ultrasound at the breast care center, probably like a week or two later. They're really good about squeezing you into there. And I had an ultrasound lady. She took a bunch of pictures of it, found it, no problem. And they looked at it. The doctor came back in and told me it was probably just a fibroadenoma, which is a benign tumor in your breast, and that it can grow and get smaller depending on your cycle. So it can be very small and unnoticeable, or it can grow to like the size of a walnut. And they said that there was no reason for me to do a biopsy right now with how young I was. At the time I was 19. So I just decided, okay, I'll leave it right here, and we'll come back in 6 months for a checkup. So fast forward to December, New Year's Eve, I go in for my 6-month checkup to see how it's doing. The nurse at the time who was looking at the ultrasound spent 0 time on me, maybe a minute to take sonogram pictures of the actual lump in the breast. And she was very rude about it too. She kept telling me what I should and shouldn't do. She asked me, what do you think it is? And I just said, I was told last time it was like a benign tumor is probably what it was. And she asked, are you getting a biopsy done? If I were you, I would get a biopsy done. And she said it very opinionated, which was very troubling to me. So I said, Well, the doctor said last time that there was no reason for me to get a biopsy done at the time. And then she said, well, are you getting it removed? Because if I were you, I would get it removed. That's so uncomfortable. And I was just like, I guess I'll decide that later. So she was very not nice, very opinionated, not what I would want from a nurse. All the other people there had been phenomenal. And after that, they've all been phenomenal too. But that one nurse was very opinionated. And I must say, if you have an opinionated nurse, don't be scared to talk to the doctor about what you think is best for you. The same doctor from the previous checkup came in and said, we still think it's a fibroadenoma, and here's what you can do. You could get it removed, but you need a biopsy first to make sure that is what it is. Or you could leave it in there. It's fine. It'll just grow and shrink depending on your cycle, and it probably will stay there. And so he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm not quite sure. I really don't know what it means to get a biopsy and to get it removed. And he went through the process with me, and he was more about what I wanted. So just make sure that when you have a doctor that they're there for you and what you want to do, because that nurse that I had was so opinionated, and it wasn't her breast, it wasn't her lump, it wasn't her decision. So I'm just laying that out there. So I decided, let's go ahead and get the biopsy done. So now I'm going to shift over to the biopsy, what that was like and whatnot. They were really great about it. They got me squeezed in like that. It was maybe, I think it was less than a week. I went in on like a Friday and they got me in on like a Tuesday. So they got me in very quick because they knew I was going back to college within a couple of weeks. And it takes a little bit of time to get the results back. I think it was like 3 to 5 business days to get the results back for the biopsy. Then you have to go in, excuse me. Then you have to go in to meet with the surgeon for a consultation, and then you have to fit in for the surgery time, so they were really trying to squeeze me in for that. So they scheduled me for a biopsy in the morning. My suggestion is if you go in the morning, definitely eat something and make sure you're drinking water. Do that regardless. So I go in for the biopsy. They take me into the room to do the ultrasound just to check out where the breast lump is, how it's doing, making sure they just know the location. And then they prep you for the biopsy. So what they do is they rub you with that soap, the cleansing soap that's brown, and then they give you an anesthetic, and that's just through a needle into your breast. And that's the worst part. It's just like a pinch. It really depends on who you have for a doctor who's doing it. But the doctor I had was really great, worked well with needles, and I barely felt anything at all, and I just closed my eyes and let her do that. The numbing was pretty much instantaneous, maybe a minute before they started going into the actual procedure after that. And I must say during the whole time they were really talking to me. It was more like a friendly talk, and they made me feel really comfortable, which I am very happy about. There was a doctor and a nurse in there at the same time, sorry if that wasn't clear. And it was all really good. So then when I went in for the rest of the biopsy, you're laying down, you have your arm kind of up like this so that they can get to the area depending on where you are. So mine's right here. So I had to lay like this. And then she goes and makes a little incision with a scalpel because they need to put something in there as a guide to get the samples out. And a biopsy is just where you're getting 3 to 8 samples of the tissue to take into a lab so that they can tell what it is. And after that, you get some clicking noises. They're extracting the tissue. It goes by very quick. You don't feel anything because you're all numbed up. So they put the gauze on my breast to make sure it stopped bleeding. And then they told me about what could happen. They told me again before this I had to sign like a waiver and my understanding to just show that I knew what was going on. And basically what she said is there's always definitely pretty much bruising. I bruise very easily, so I did have bruising. It lasted about a week. It looked worse on the 2nd or 3rd day, and then it kind of slowly got better. And then you could also develop the hematoma, which is just a blood clot, and I definitely got one of those too. And it can take a couple of months to go away. It just slowly breaks down on its own. It's not harmful or anything like that. So then they were going to call me. They called me the next day to see how I was doing, which was really nice, and I was doing well. And then they called back about 3 days later because they put a rush on my lab results. And I found out it was a fibroadenoma, and it was benign, and I could go ahead and schedule an appointment to meet with a surgeon to get it removed. So now I'm going to switch over to the surgery and removal side of it. So I go in again, and this time I meet with the surgeon, he kind of just checked out both of my breasts, which I was actually really happy about. He went through and looked at everything to see if there were any other lumps that could have been missed, and just focused on also the area that had the lump and to make sure he knew where it was and all that. It was maybe a 5 to 10 minute appointment where he really just went over everything, told me that I could have it removed, and that if I would like to have it removed, I'd have to schedule an appointment for that, and they made sure to put a rush on it. So I actually got in for the next surgery day, which I think at this point was maybe a week later. So it was about 3 days before I'd have to go back to college, which not ideal, but it is what it is, and I really wanted to get removed then. So I went ahead and scheduled the appointment. This one was a little bit later in the day, not really that much later. It was 10 a.m. So I come back with my sister for that appointment for the surgery, and I do suggest having someone else come with you just for the sake of having someone to drive you home. They don't have to be in there with the surgery and whatnot, but to have somebody to drive you home is really good for this. For the biopsy, you don't really need someone to drive you home. It's usually fine, but if that makes you feel more comfortable, go for it. So they're running a little bit late on my surgery day. It took maybe 20 minutes later than when the appointment was scheduled, and I was kind of nervous anyways. But the nurse was phenomenal, really sweet, really nice. They take me in right into the surgery room. They have a couple of things that they have to do to make sure everything's okay, like taking just your stats and whatnot. And then you lay down on the surgery bed. They clean you up again with that iodine soap stuff. And then you get another shot of anesthesia. This is assuming that you're awake. I was awake for mine. This is a surgery that's very simple and you can be awake for it. So that's what I chose to do. It's a better recovery time. So the nurse was actually really sweet and told me to squeeze her hand while they were giving the anesthetic. And then after that, they just went and did their thing. I closed my eyes. I tend to close my eyes so I don't know what's going on. I figure if I close my eyes, I can't just assume what's going on, and that way my brain won't interpret pain that it really doesn't feel, but I might feel like I feel. Really confusing. But basically what he did was make an incision about the size of the lump, which I'm guessing was about this big. And he goes in. You have to cut around the tissue of the actual lump to remove it. Once you remove it, you go ahead and he stitched it up from the inside. This took maybe half an hour for everything. I think the longest part was actually just the stitching on the inside. The stitches just go away on their own. They don't have to get them removed, which is awesome. And he stitches it from the inside so that the scarring isn't as bad and it gets back to your regular breast shape with minimal scarring. And currently, I do have a little line. It's just like a red line about where they stitched me up and where the incision was made, but it's going away, and I put coconut oil on it every day. But going from the surgery, they sit you up very gently to make sure that you're okay and that you can stand. And then after that, it's advised that you bring a bra just so you can put an ice pack in it. They will give you a little ice pack. It kind of looks like a pad, but it's for ice packs. And you just stick that inside your bra, and then you can just use that throughout the whole day. I suggest using it throughout the whole day and continually for like a couple of days, as well as using ibuprofen probably before or right after the surgery, just to, you know, kick in that medicine so you're not in pain. And I would say my medicine lasted, in terms of the anesthetic, the numbing stuff, lasted the entire day. I didn't feel any pain. I thought I was kind of invincible until the next day when it definitely hurt and I couldn't move very much. Okay, so now I feel like I've talked about a lot of stuff all over the place, and I very much apologize if you ever have at all any questions about this. Go ahead and put them down below, because I am more than willing to answer questions about my experience. Again, this experience isn't for everyone, but this is my experience and it may be able to help you. And just know that this is a very common thing. Women get lumps in their breasts for a variety of reasons, and most of the time it's harmless, especially when you're younger. But if it is something serious, again, just go ahead and get it checked and get it rechecked. And even if you don't think it's harmless, you know, getting it checked and rechecked is very important. So a couple of things that I didn't quite know about when I was getting the biopsy and the surgery done that are tips for y'all if you have to go ahead and do this is, if you're not going to wear a bra going in, bring a bra, because at the end of the biopsy and at the end of the surgery, they give you like a little ice pack, and it's just so much easier to tuck it in, again, depending on where the spot is, tucking it into your bra so that it stays right up against you. Otherwise, using tape and stuff, which I did like the first 2 days, is not as simple, and it's just easier to wear a very comfortable bra. Now, I recommend a sports bra, a form-fitting bra, something with no wire, something really soft and comfortable, because you're probably going to be wearing it all day and night, just to protect you and to also have the ice pack against you. Another thing is just wear comfortable clothes. Wear anything, whether it's leggings, sweatpants, a very loose shirt, anything cozy, because you're going to be in it and you just want to be comfortable. Another thing is definitely eat and drink. When I was in my biopsy, I had to have my hand up like this, and again, I was laying down, but it was hot in there. I didn't drink or eat anything very much because it was 8 a.m. in the morning, and I got nauseous. So I didn't throw up or anything, but just to make sure you have something in your stomach and have some water in your body, because your body's not going to be used to the medicine that they're giving you to numb you up, and it's just going to be a weird position as well, so you may get a little bit nauseous or dizzy if you don't eat or drink anything. So I do advise doing that. Another thing I advise is don't be afraid to go with your gut feeling on things. So when they asked me to wait, way back when they identified the lump and they wanted me to wait 2 weeks, I knew that this wasn't normal for my body. You know your body the best, and you know what is and what isn't normal for you. So definitely go with your feelings on this and get things checked out accordingly and do what you want. Don't let a nurse persuade you based on what she thinks is right for you, because what she thinks is right for you may not be what's right for you. So go what is right for you. Another thing is that this seems to be like a private issue for a lot of people, and it is a personal thing, but don't be afraid to think it's just you who has lumps or for any reason. There are a bunch of people just around me from my experience of having a lump that I was told that they also had lumps at one point. And it's very common for women, and it's not always cancerous. And just all around, be positive, and if you have a phenomenal staff, which I hope you do if you have to go in for this, it really makes it easier, and to just have that support. The nurses I had were phenomenal, and it was great, so I was really appreciative to that. And one of the things that I did when I went in for my surgery and my biopsy is I just closed my eyes so I don't look at things, so I can't interpret pain that I don't actually feel. And what I was doing during that time was actually just praying through it and trusting in God to get me through it and knowing that it would all be okay, and that was really helpful. And another tip is to take ibuprofen either at the time of your biopsy and surgery or right after it, so that the pain isn't as bad and so you stop the swelling right away. And then to leave ice packs on all day for a couple of days, like really for as long as you need it. Ice packs are what are going to be your best friend. They really are. So that's good. And the other thing I don't think I mentioned is that at the time after the surgery, they put a very clear, almost like liquid bandage, but it doesn't have the alcohol in it. It is just liquid bandage, and it covers the whole wound, and you can shower, but you have to wait 1 day to shower each time after the biopsy and the surgery. But it stayed on for me for about 2 weeks, and it was slowly peeling off around the sides, but the whole thing didn't come off until after 2 weeks. And then I really advise to put coconut oil or some kind of scar cream on it just to help keep it moisturized and to keep it from scarring so bad. So I hope this video was very helpful for you guys. I am more than willing to do follow-up videos or question videos about this, so if you have any questions, let me know down below. I am more than willing to answer questions, of course, about my experience and anything that you may be going through. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. Give this video a thumbs up if you did, and go ahead and subscribe for more videos, especially if you want to follow along this journey, because I may talk about it more. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.